Thank you. I just need my notes.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, a warm welcome to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and this press briefing after meeting between the Foreign Minister Alexander Schallenberg and the Foreign Minister of Serbia, Nikola Selaković. Mr. Minister, please.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Dear Nikola, it's really a great pleasure to welcome here in Vienna, finally in 3D, not only in 2D as we did in the last couple of years, a couple of months virtually on video screen. And I have to say, as we said beforehand, welcome to the fourth largest Serbian city, if I may say so, which is a proof that we have so many links bringing us together, not only economic links and political links, but a very strong human bond between Austria and Serbia. About 300,000 people are living here in Austria with a family background in Serbia, and we have just discussed about these issues. And I believe after the trying 15 months we had with the pandemic, it is about time not only to meet in person, but to say that we will restart afresh in the coming month, that we are, as we discussed, wanting to improve and boost our economic ties, to get our businesses again together, to reunite our companies. There's a great interest in Austria, in Serbia, to invest and to be present, and I'm happy to hear that you had interesting contacts in Austria in the last hours on this matter. I believe there's a big wish from our side to intensify these ties. Obviously, one of the topics which keeps us always busy is the accession process of the Western Balkans. I mean, from the Austrian perspective, I say it again and again, this is for us the priority number one. The Western Balkans are not, as some say, the backyard of the European Union. It's on the contrary, it's the patio. It's the central court of the European Union, surrounded by the EU building. And I believe I could say that the stability of this European building needs the full integration of the 6 Western Balkan countries. And I know that you are, together with Montenegro, the front runner. And I'm hopeful that we will again in the next couple of months see progress in this area. We are both aware that there are reforms needed, especially in the judicial area, electoral reforms and others. But I trust that you will do from your side everything to continue this reform path so that the IGCs and the accession process can continue, knowing, I'm saying so very honestly, that we are not satisfied in general as Austrians with the process so far. I believe 2020 was a lost year for the accession process and for the Western Balkans, and our aim must be that 2021 is not again a lost year. We obviously have the topic of Albania and North Macedonia, but other issues as well. So from my side, I can assure you we'll support you fully. For us, it is a #1 priority to proceed and to have this, to continue to have a tangible aim that sooner rather than later we want you all as full-blown members of the European Union. Having said so, we both know that there's one issue which is a tricky issue. It's the normalization between Belgrade and Pristina. I'm happy that next Monday there will be again a meeting on the highest level between President Vučić and Prime Minister Kurti. I believe that is very important to get this process up and running again and to make sure that the progress which has been achieved so far will be the building blocks for the next coming steps. And last but not least, as I said at the beginning, we had trying 15 months behind us with the pandemic. We Austrians are very proud that we have been part of this EU vaccine sharing mechanism that we have been coordinating for the Western Balkans, which is a very important task. And the Chancellor Sebastian Kurz announced at the last Western Balkan Summit, which took place a couple of weeks ago, that we would donate another 1 million vaccines to the region from autumn on. Where currently my people are actively working on that. So you can be assured that we will stand by your side also on this issue. And finally, I mean, we all know in this pandemic, nobody's safe until everybody is safe. That is our approach. I'm very happy that now travel is again possible. Vice versa, this is very important. We have in Austria over 500,000 people with family background in the Western Balkans who have been deprived of visiting their families, of their friends, and I'm happy that this summer this will be possible again. Although obviously as Foreign Minister I have to say a notion of caution. The pandemic is not over, so please register at the embassy and inform yourself what are the rules when you visit Serbia or other places, and keep your minimum of masks, keep your distance, social distance, whatever is needed to stay safe. But I'm happy that this summer will be a more normal summer than we had it in 2020. Thank you for being here again.
Thank you so much, Honorable Minister, dear Alexander. It's really great to be today here with you. And first of all, I would like to express my gratitude, personally mine and of all the delegation of the Foreign Affairs Ministry of the Republic of Serbia, for warm welcome in Vienna. This is the second day of my first official visit to your beautiful country. I have used the first one to meet with our colleague, Minister in charge of Digital and Economic Affairs, but also to meet the people of a numerous Serbian diaspora here in Austria, and also to make some good meetings with the people from the business society of Austria. The first meeting we've had today has been an excellent opportunity to exchange our views on our bilateral cooperation, which we are considering as a very good one, and which is witnessed not only on the level of the highest and high-rank meetings, but if we would like to see the real cooperation existing between two countries, then we are going to take a look over communication of our business societies, but also people-to-people communication, which is good. The Austrian enterprises, Austrian companies are the second biggest investors in Serbian economy. During the last 10 years, 2,585 million euros were invested in Serbian economy. 733 Austrian companies are employing more than 22,000 employees in Serbia, and what I've already seen during the last day here are the new interests by new and the other Austrian companies which are not present in Serbia to invest even more. So we've been discussing about cooperation between two countries. We've been especially trying to find out the best framework for our cooperation in the future, which is going to give us the opportunity to make the best recovery of our economies in post-pandemic period. But also we've been talking about some other really important issues for the communication and cooperation of two countries. I use that opportunity to thanks to my dear Austrian colleague, but also to your government, to your Prime Minister, for the firm, consistent and principled support for the accession process of the Republic of Serbia to the European Union. It was confirmed also during the last IGC, and that was something about which our President has been stated loudly and publicly, and with words full of gratitude to the Prime Minister Kurz and your government. So Austria is supporting Serbian accession process. It was confirmed today during our meeting, and we are grateful to you, and of course that we are interested to profound our cooperation in this format too. We have been also talking about normalization dialogue between Belgrade and Pristina. I have used that opportunity to inform Alexander, to inform my dear Austrian colleague about our position. Our position is clear. It means that we are completely devoted to the dialogue between Belgrade and Pristina, that we do not see any other reasonable way for searching the solution of this tough and difficult issue as one of the most important Serbian national and state issues, and that we are in the process because we believe that the comprehensive solution can be the best one. What does it mean? It doesn't mean that one is going to get everything, the other one is going to get anything, but it means that we need to search for the solution which is going to be sustainable, which is going to be applicable, and which is going to be supported by both Belgrade and Pristina. Is it possible to find that solution? I think it is. Is it easy? For sure, it is not easy. But we, in spite of all the differences of views, I think that we are considering the dialogue as the best way to find out the solution. I have also used this opportunity, this meeting, to talk with my dear colleague about our diaspora in Austria, to talk about hundreds of thousands of Serbs and people of Serbian origin who are now Austrian citizens, to thank to my dear colleague for everything what they are getting from the Austrian state and for all the understanding existing between two nations and between two people. Last but not least, and that's something I would like to say at the end of this statement, that I hope that this meeting is going to give us the opportunity also to continue our cooperation, and it would be great, dear Alexander, to welcome you to Belgrade, in Belgrade, until the end of this year, and to continue talking about all these mutually important, but more of the mostly mutually beneficial issues for both countries and for both nations. Once again, thank you for the warm welcome in Vienna, and welcome to Belgrade.
I'll come.
Time permits 2 questions. We start with the Austrian press agency, please.
From the Austrian press agency. Big promises were made for West Balkan countries by very important politicians recently, in a summit meeting in Berlin, in a summit meeting in Vienna. The Slovenian presidency is planning another summit meeting in October. So what concretely do you expect, Mr. Minister, from Slovenia in the presidency? Bearing in mind, as you already indicated, that Serbia does not recognize the status of Kosovo as it is. Your President Vučić made this very clear recently. How can you imagine a compromise according to EU rules with Kosovo?
Thank you for both questions. First of all, our expectations of Slovenian presidency over the European Council are pretty much high, because we are talking about one country with which, and one nation with which we have been sharing the same way of life, the same country for 8 decades. So Slovenia was the first ex-Yugoslav republic which entered the European Union, which is the best example how a country can benefit and how the citizens of that country can benefit from the accession process. And let me just conclude that maybe our Slovenian friends can understand us much better than some other European partners. So they are having much interest to support the enlargement process of the European Union and to reaffirm their statement that European Union is not complete without Western Balkans within its borders. On the other hand, we are continuing our reforms. During the last, and that's something what am I going to inform Alexander during the next meeting, that during the last 8 months, we have succeeded to make many crucially important reforms of our society, especially in the field of rule of law, of freedom of speech, which I know that is important for the Austrian position, but also you can see that our economic reforms and our social reforms are the best in the region, and they are actually pushing us ahead. So we are continuing our reforms. Is EU going to support that, to valorize that in a right way? We are going to see. I know that EU is overweighted with many internal problems, but you know, you cannot just speak about Western Balkans where there is a migration issue as an outstanding issue, and when you need support from Western Balkan countries because migrants are using our territory to get the EU. That means that we are sharing the same problems. And if we are sharing the same problems, that means that we can also plan our mutual, let's say, our joint future and everything what we are also going to share in the future. You've mentioned the Kosovo and Metohija issue. And if I'm quoting you well, you've said Serbia is not recognizing Kosovo as it is. You know what's the problem? The problem is that there is difference of views between different countries what it is. You have been mentioning and you have been talking about that point looking from the Austrian angle of view. So the Republic of Austria recognized so-called Kosovo's independence. But in European Union, you still have 5 member states who are not recognizing it as a state, but as a southern province of the Republic of Serbia, like it is defined in our constitution. You still have many countries in the international community supporting Serbian position. And that's actually the reason why we are having all these negotiations. And do you know what? I would like to add more. And we haven't been talking about that, Alexander, so sorry for mentioning this. It is just in the answer. It's just in the answer of the lady's question. But I know that there are countries trying to show that it is some completely unique case. And that it's prohibited now on the Balkans to talk about each solution which is tackling borders, but it hasn't been prohibited to talk about changement of borders in 2008, when some countries recognized changement of borders of the Republic of Serbia, internationally recognized. Also recognized through the respective resolutions of the Security Council, United Nations Security Council. All we are having our interests in the region. Our interest is to maintain the dialogue process, to implement all the agreements made in the dialogue process. And I would like just to tell you that we have implemented everything what we've agreed on 3,009 days ago in Brussels. There is only one obligation existing on Pristina side, and it was the only one obligation of Pristina within the negotiating process before the Brussels agreement. That's to constitute the community of Serb municipalities. And Pristina is refusing to do that. 3,009 days after the agreement was made. Everybody knows that one of the basic rules in international relations is that pacta sunt servanda. So what is agreed, that has to be implemented. We are believing still that we have to negotiate, we have to search for the compromise. Unilateralism is not and cannot be the basic rule of international relations. From our side, and I know that there are differences of views between Alexander's official view, my official view, which are different, if I may say, only regarding this issue. But for us, it was unilateralism. And that's what we are talking about. Before, and sorry, I think it would be the best to stop now answering at your question, but thank you for the question. Once again, I would like to say that we are considering the dialogue as the best way to search for the compromise. If somebody is expecting for Serbia to recognize so-called independence, and that is going to be the only one and the unique sense of all the negotiations, then the one saying that to you is cheating you. It is not going to happen in such a way. And it is not going to happen in a way in which Serbia, as I said, is going to be shamed. You know what Kosovo and Metohija means to our country, what does it mean to our people. And still, there are more than 100,000 Serbs living on Kosovo and Metohija. They are alive people. They have a right to have a good future, and they are not having it at this particular moment. What we need just much more, we need understanding, and thank you, Alexander, for the understanding. Thank you for the support given to the dialogue process. Thank you for the understanding and the support to the Washington Agreement, after which you have stopped your activities you've had before, because you are respecting agreements, like we are doing the same. But if there is another way to search for the compromise, please tell me. I do not see it without negotiations and without dialogue.
May I add maybe just a note that we fully agree, and I'm happy to hear what you stated already in our Four Eyes meeting, that it's about a process, it's about dialogue, it's about talking to each other. And I believe we all, and we do have different approaches, we are aware of that, that has never been an issue to a certain degree. But I believe we all agree that this is to a certain point that normalization between Pristina and Belgrade is, you could say, the eye of the needle through which the whole region has to go. And nobody of us wants it to become the stumbling block for the whole region. So Europe and the continent is full of issues and areas and regions where we can point in the history back to painful processes of negotiations, which finally nowadays are only to be found in history books. And our aim is that one day we will achieve the same thing between Belgrade and Pristina.
Okay. Second question goes to Dragana Bibanović.
Thank you, Mr. Schallenberg. This question for you. You mentioned that last year was lost when it comes to Western Balkans European integration process, and that everything has to be compensated this year. Since the half year has passed already, do you think there is a real chance for Serbia and other countries in Western Balkans to make progress in this process? Thank you.
Well, thank you for the question. Yes, I do. Otherwise, I wouldn't have said so. And I believe that we have we can advance in the accession process, and obviously the big new future step will be opening of accession negotiations with Albania and North Macedonia. There's simply no reason not to take this step. Both states have done everything they were asked to do. They have really fulfilled their duties, and I believe it's overdue that the European Union finally takes a step to open accession negotiations with North Macedonia and with Albania. You might be aware that Austria is one of those countries talking a lot behind the scenes with everybody involved, and I'm again extremely supportive to the Slovenian presidency. I'm thankful for what the Portuguese presidency put as compromise idea on the table. I believe that was a very smart way to go about it, and that's, from my perspective, what we should, as European Union, embark on. But let me tell you one further thing. I believe, and this meeting and our discussions prove it, we should refrain as European Union or as European countries to see the Western Balkans only through the glasses of EU accession. There's so much more we can do beforehand. And my line is basically we shouldn't wait for accession. I'm very much in favor of adding the Western Balkan countries already in programs, or EU programs, like Horizon Europe on research, like the EU roaming. I know you did it regionally, but why not have a common roaming rule for the European Union, for the 27 member states and the 6 countries of the Western Balkans? Why not add them in programs of vocational training? And not only, you know, at the end as receiving country, but as full program countries. I would say the same for Erasmus+. So we don't need to wait for the accession date. We can already prove beforehand that if there's any region which can claim to be a European region, then it's obviously the Western Balkan states. And I believe that we can prove that, and we should include them as much as possible in policies beforehand. And I'm very much supportive also of the idea of the Slovenian presidency to have on a regular basis Western Balkan summits, as I believe strongly that we should continue with the Berlin process, which again was something which added to the accession process, which brought tangible, you know, progress in the area. And I believe that's what's needed. We shouldn't be focused only on chapters and opening and closing and clusters and so on. This is not a bureaucratic endeavor. It's a deeply political endeavor for the European Union, for Europe as such. And we Austrians are very clear. The integration is incomplete without our partners, which are our immediate neighbor in southeastern Europe. And I believe that we can do many things already beforehand.
This concludes the press briefing. Thank you for your interest. Voilà.
Thank you.